Alright, we've been debating this through streams, and I will take the stance that the main character will not die. Actually, you're wrong.
And
I'm you, but correct. So, the titles of each episode have been Episode 1, Buy or Die. Episode 2, The Man Only Dies Once. Episode 3, Gear is Dead. There's also numerous times through both Episode 2 and 3 that the main characters have even said, being Sachi or Nambu, you'll die if you go do this. Another main point is, I don't feel so good. Thanos. Main character's not gonna die. Yo, let's get into this review. Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is Nambu's background. So at the beginning of the episode, two things happened. The first one I really liked that happened afterwards was after the main opening, you see Nambu like this. He has his hands on his face, he's just like, he's not doing anything. It was like on that scene for like, with the music in the background for like 6, 7, 8 seconds. It felt like forever. There was no animation, and literally he's just sitting there with his hands in his face. This is either A, Nambu like realizing like how bad of a situation is or how FD is in a sense, because he's like, yo, I need to make it to Megalonia, I don't want to die, I gotta train up this guy, and everything's literally against us. I have no idea how I'm going to actually, do this. Like, we've seen a very confident, in a sense confidence or false confidence, Nambu in the last episode where he's like, yo, I'm figuring out the way, we're gonna do it, we're gonna sign you up, gassing up Joe. But this is the first time we really see like, yo, I'm just in grief. He was even drinking in this episode too, man, saying, yeah, I got a plan. You gotta fake it till we make it. They called themselves frauds and such. Another big important thing is when he went into the Megalonia office to sign up Joe and himself, he got recognized. Now you can tell how nervous he was to actually go in there, having his hat down, and they would say, hey, if it isn't old Nambu. But, so that means he has history here. So Nambu either, in my opinion, I think he served as coach. If you're gonna coach the main character, you used to be a coach of either a fighter, or you used to be a coach of maybe even the official Megalonia office. Like, maybe that building, or maybe you worked in the building. Maybe he was somebody like really professional and well known. We don't know, but there's history there that we don't know about yet. But it is interesting he got recognized by people there. So that was pretty important. I like that because they didn't actually give us the detail as to why or who Nambu is. But it foreshadows to say, okay, Nambu was somebody in this world before. And it makes you wonder, why does he live in the slums now? Unless he worked there or coached and lived in the slums from the beginning. We don't know. Another thing about Nambu, just like I mentioned about this grief he feels, he knows that his chances of actually beating Yuri and getting Joe to be number one are slim to none. Even the chances of making it all the way up to Megalonia, the odds, they are 257th place. To get to Megalonia, you need to be within the top 4 just to fight. Then you gotta beat the other 3 people that'll be there with you. They have 3 months for this, and they have to fight fighters and climb up. Like, the odds are extremely slim. Unless Joe is just some prodigy, there's really no way for them to make it. So here's something interesting about this episode, which is another reason I love it. Very subtle, and I was really wondering, like, okay, why did they highlight this? I looked back at it, did a little bit of research, and in Nambu's car, he has a cross, a Christian cross. It was Spanish on it, and it said, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Dios aprita pero no ahoga. So I was like, okay, what does this mean? The reason why this stood out to me is because it was light and kind of dangling, then it just turned dark for a quick second, then it went to another scene. So the translation, from what I found, means God tempers the wind to the shorn lamb. So looking up that phrase, what's the English translation, or what does that correlate to? When God shuts a door, he always opens a window. Now, the next scene, it had Yuri for a second, then right after that, it was really brief with Yuri, because, the main character, Joe, was thinking about Yuri. The next person that they highlight are the kids. More specifically, Sachio, right? So, back to the quote, or back to the cross. When God shuts the door, he always opens up a window. I think the shuts the door thing, the reason I highlighted it is, Nambu, you don't stand a chance of doing this. There's no way you could do it on your own. I think that he always opens a window refers to Sachio. So I'm sure you all saw Sachio in this episode. Sachio, after, like, while they were training, he was actually like, hey, the gear, it makes him too slow. This gear doesn't work. Also, the fight actually against that other guy, the guy that was ranked 96 with the extremely powerful gear that I'll get to, Sachio actually predicted, based on the gear, looking alone and listening to the sounds, that he was going to throw a left hook. That that he always opens a window. This window, in my opinion, is Sachio. Sachio has the gear knowledge. Sachio actually can sense gear, apparently, like just by looking at it or listening to it, and he can predict based on this. Like, having Nanbu as a coach and Sachio there to assist actually can make it possible for Joe to win. So that's that opening window. That's that possibility with the combination of Joe, his drive, Nanbu, his coaching and experience, and Sachio with this like crazy quirk and knowledge, which I want to know more of, since he only showed off his hat. I'm assuming his dad was either like an engineer or dealt with Megalo boxing. I don't feel like he'd be a coach, but I feel like he was really, really good at engineer. But like, that's the window, and that will be the way that these guys actually get to Megalonia. Another important thing in this episode, and they didn't sugarcoat it at all, living in the slums and being poor there really, really sucks. Like, the fact that the merchant that owned the prototype gear and that was hustling the kids for the items and gave them candy, like, those 4 kids, you can tell they're street kids. They're known. They steal often, and they steal for like candy. And he even said that, and I'm paraphrasing, that these kids steal stuff and sell it to me so they can kind of get away from their current situation. They're all poor. They're stealing. They stole the cameras. They stole the prototype, or found the prototype Shirata gear. Like, it's like their situation's so bad they gotta steal just to get food. I was thinking of Aladdin at this time, but you know, it's like, it's not a sugarcoated like Aladdin. In Aladdin, he stole food and it's all happy and singing. This one, like, these kids are just stealing just to feel better and to eat and fend for themselves. So, speaking on the kids a bit, they didn't really highlight the other 3 children, but they did highlight Sachio in this episode. Sachio has a picture of, I assume, his parents or family in his hat. He didn't want the main character to touch it. He didn't want the store merchant especially to touch it. And I'm sure we'll get an explanation of that in later episodes. So I'm curious more so about that. I like that in this series they didn't explain Nambu's backstory. They didn't explain Sachio. I'm really curious about, I didn't think about it like until now. I'm really, really curious about Joe's backstory. Like, who is Joe? We actually don't know his real name. What if it ironically was Joe? But like, we don't know really much about him other than his drive to like fight, you know, or be something better. Was he orphaned? Was he abandoned? Did he end up there? I feel like he wouldn't have came from the story. But I like how much we don't know, and I just can't wait to see what we have revealed throughout the series. Alright, let's jump to Yuri real quick. So Yuri's over here boxing and training on his state-of-the-art Shirata gear, training, whatever, the devices and stuff. You can tell it's really, really high tech. He has a little breathing mask over him that controls breathing or makes it a bit more of a workout. I've seen those in sports stores before. But one thing that stood out that I really, really like is that what you call real Megalo boxing? Like, it's bothering Yuri, right? So this made me think about how this kind of highlights to be like, is Yuri actually doing what he wants? You know, like, is that what you call real Megalo boxing? Why does that bother him? If you know why it bothers him, please let me know, because I'm still trying to figure it out or feel my way through. But I'm thinking that Yuri is on the short leash under President Shirato to fulfill her dream, and she believes it will fulfill whatever his dream is. And he's just following the rules. You're wearing the Shirata gear. This is for the future. It's some ultimate goal. But this isn't what I want to do. So I can't wait to figure out what he considers real Megalo boxing in a sense, or I really can't wait to see what's Yuri's real intentions, or not intentions, but what he really, really wants. How does he really feel about all this? Because for that one statement from somebody he beat up to really bother him that much, obviously he feels some type of way, or feels something about the current state of Megalo boxing, to whether he doesn't like it, maybe he doesn't like gear, there's something wrong with it. Or maybe the main character pissed him off so much, but like, I don't see how, unless he has some type of conflict or something that he doesn't like about Megalo boxing going on, I don't see how that statement would bother him, especially after he beat up the main character, and believes that he won't see the main character anymore. If you think that or got a different take, do let me know. Also, another important thing, let's talk about the gear. We don't have gear anymore. Like, Nambu messed it up. Nambu messed up the gear, meaning we need to upgrade or we need a replacement. Also, after going through all of that trouble of getting the prototype Shirada gear from them, it broke. So I watched this round a couple times, and I actually watched a video on it because I was like, okay, did the gear break because it was faulty? Maybe it was fake. It actually wasn't. The guy that Joe fought, the boxer with the gear that said it's all powerful, he didn't fight with gloves. Like, it took me a few times to get this, but he didn't fight with gloves. He fought with like his special robotic gear that wouldn't probably even be allowed in normal fights, you know? He probably would have fought with the gear and like had regular gloves on and took that off. But I think when Joe got punched, that's what shattered the gear. What I really liked about the episode is that Joe beat him without it. Of course, you know, he dodged and countered, and Sachio made the call, but he won without. After that, Nambu said that he had a idea. I was like, the fight's tomorrow, we don't have gear. It's either we're fighting with gear or we're gonna buy one. I don't think they have money to buy one. It's either it's called Gear is Dead, so the title makes sense because literally the gear is gone. We lost 2 gears, it's too expensive to get a replacement. The battle's tomorrow. He either has to fight without gear, or maybe we'll use Nambu's, mainly Sachio's engineering prowess to like make a cheap one, if that's allowed. Like, we'll have to see how they'll go about this. But they'll either get a replacement or go without, if that's even legal or if that's even allowed, because Megalo boxing is with Megalo gear. So I'm very interested to see what will be their next move in that realm. Other than that, this episode overall did a really good job of highlighting other characters. Honestly, Joe just fought, and I respect Joe for standing up for the child when, you know, he almost got stabbed by the guy. Also, that guy about to stab the kid or beat him up or like squeeze him till he bleeds, that shows like in the slums, life is real. Life is hard, man. Like, I'm not gonna say they would kill the kid, but I mean, you're torturing a child. Like, that was kind of crazy. It shows that this show really doesn't sugarcoat things, man. He pulled a knife out on him, you know? I'm liking the, I guess, realness of it, the seriousness of it, at least in the slums. And this episode highlights that fact. Other than that, let me know what you all think in the comment section. Anything you agree, disagree with, any points I didn't see or didn't catch. And yo, with that being said, we'll crank out another review soon. Have a good night. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If you enjoyed the content, I've been finding myself to enjoy anime reviews. Feel free to subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I'll be sure to get episode 4 up soon. See you later, guys, and good night.